Welcome, and thanks for stopping by. Whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to our podcast on one of your favorite platforms, I'm glad you're here. I'm Kevin James Kelly, founder and creator of the Millennium Beat LLC. I also am the host of the English version of the Millennium Beat podcast. Join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern as we help you share your story. I bring a unique perspective, insight, and commentary for every episode, discussing ways to share the gospel through stories, miracles, and testimonies. Our mantra at the Millennium Beat is encouraging the world one story at a time. At this time, I would like to thank our partners and sponsors for their dedication to helping the show to grow. We cannot do what we do without their help. This week's show is sponsored by the McLeod Painting Group. Interior and exterior is their expertise. Licensed and insured in the state of Florida with over 45 years of experience, expanding over 3 generations. Give them a call at 772-501-0324. Again, that is 772-501-0324. Riverside.fm, your online recording studio. Professional podcast and video creation simplified. Easily record podcasts and videos in studio quality from your browser or mobile app. Create high-quality content with ease. Local recording up to 4K video resolution. Enjoy high-quality recording with your computer, smartphone, or iPad, and edit your content in your virtual studio. You can download Riverside.fm from the Apple App Store or get it on Google Play. You already have an exceptional camera at hand. Now all you need is the Riverside.fm app. It is recommended to use the Chrome browser and keep it open till you and your guest upload is at 100%. With some other platforms, the recording could be choppy and pixelated when your internet connection is poor during the call. With Riverside.fm, your recordings will always be smooth and freeze-free, thanks to local recording for all your participants. Scan the QR code to bring you right directly to Riverside.fm. By using the link to Riverside.fm, when you sign up for a plan, it also helps the Millennium Beats podcast. Thanks for sticking around. Please support our sponsors, which will help us grow. If you'd like to know more about how to become a sponsor or other ways to help, please scan the QR code with your phone or tablet. It will bring you directly to Learn How to Help. You may also go to our website at www.tmb2000.net and you'll see a button on the top right. Do you have a great story or testimony to tell? If you want to be a guest, please scan the QR code with your phone or tablet. It will bring you directly to the Become a Guest form. Fill it out, and we'll get back to you. After viewing the document, we will schedule an appointment with you to be on our show. If you have any comments, concerns, or questions, you may always call me at 407-624-9957. Leave a brief voicemail, and I'll get back to you. You also may leave a comment using the Contact Us section at the bottom of our homepage. All right, sit back and grab a cup of coffee or your favorite beverage. The show will start right after a brief 60-second intro. Hey everybody, you have joined the Millennium Beat. I am glad that you are here. Today I have on the computer, a phone interview basically, with Jose. Jose, I don't want to botch your last name, so let's let you say it. How do you say your last name?
Welcome to having me, Kevin. My name is Jose Pereira. Jose Pereira is my second name. So I'm Jose Pereira. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Okay, everybody remember that. I will forget it. No, unfortunately I'm not always the greatest with names, but I met Jose on the computer and through a thing called I think be a guest or something like that. And
Mhm.
it's a great way to meet people. And I appreciate you coming on today. Thank you very much. All right,
Yeah,
let's
thank you
start
for
off
having
from
me.
the early days, where you came from. Maybe a little bit about your parents, or or basically where you were born. So let's go from there.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, Kevin, and thank you for the
You
audience
are
for hearing me. I'm a Venezuelan born. I was born in
okay.
Venezuela, in a place called Maracaibo. This is a very typical Venezuelan place for the oil production. Is where Venezuela is a very oil production country. Then, and the production of the oil began there like 100 plus years ago. So
Oh wow.
I'm born there. I come from a oil family because my father and my grandfather also worked in the oil industry, and I did the same.
Okay.
I when I was graduated in back to 1985, I became
Okay.
a worker in PDVSA, a long time worker.
Okay. So you grew up in the field, and did you work alongside your father?
Yes, yes. Well,
Yes.
unfortunately, he died when I was young, but I
Oh,
grew up
okay.
in in Venezuela. There's these neighborhoods there are beside the oil fields. And by the way, in back in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the production of the oil in Venezuela was done by American companies. So we had a lot of American companies working there, and I grew up
Okay.
in those oil fields. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. So you grew up in those fields. So you're basically oil is in your blood.
In my blood, all over around, from me, my father, my grandfather, my kids, my all my family has
Okay.
been oil worker all
So basically, you're saying your kids. So your kids that you've had now are in the same field, right? They're into
the
oil.
eldest one. The eldest one, yes. The eldest.
Okay. Okay. So did you enjoy being in that field? Or, I mean, is it something that you really liked?
Well, during my 35 years, there was like a evolution, and this is something, by the way, that I'm going to tell in my book because,
Okay.
the situation in Venezuela and the production of the oil has been changing during the years. But yeah,
Hmm.
at the beginning, it was very enjoyable.
Hmm. Now, I don't know a lot about Venezuela. I've heard about it. It's a lot different today than it was a few years ago, isn't it?
Yeah, of
It's
course.
kind of gone downhill, from what I've heard.
Oh,
It,
yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah. That is a shame. It's a shame that during the last
yeah,
more than 2 decades, there is a regime there and has changed everything. It's a communist regime, and then
as a communist,
there's a
yeah.
noise in the country, and the production is not so good. So things have
Oh,
changed a lot. Unfortunately,
it
yeah.
was very prosperous. I mean, I don't want, probably in the 80s and 90s and, maybe in the 20s, the 2000s. It was very prosperous, very rich country, very well known.
Well, Venezuela was by the 80s was like, called like the Saudi Arabia of Latin America because that was the entrance of
Okay.
Latin America at the time. Yes.
And then the communists get involved, and then that's all downhill from there. I mean, it's almost a warning to the United States thinking, hey, look what happened there. If we're not careful, it will happen here. I'm
Yeah.
sure you've seen it. Now you live in the United States. You live outside of Houston, Texas, and so that's correct, Houston.
Yeah.
Somewhere,
Correct.
of course, that's on the Gulf, isn't it? I'm not
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm in the Gulf because Houston is the main headquarter of the main oil companies in the U.S. When I came back
Okay.
here, when I came here was because I was assigned to a multinational that is located here. At the end, I became the CEO of that company.
Okay. All right. So you're moving on up. So
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Reminds me of an old TV show, moving up on the east side of Chicago. No, that's another song. It's completely different. Well, okay,
yeah,
so you're moving up there. Um, okay, so you talked about your youth and you're growing up with your dad and you're in the oil business and stuff. And you said your dad died when you were younger, so that you
yeah.
didn't have a lot of
But
time.
my mom stayed working in the oil industry. After he died, she kept working because
Oh,
both
she
were
kept working.
workers. Yeah, she kept
Okay,
until
all
she
right, and you
retired.
liked it. You said you enjoyed it, and you moved up. Let's talk about before your little vacation stay at the state penitentiary of Venezuela. What was life like a little bit like that at that time? Were you single? Were you partying, trained? What kind of stuff were you doing at that time? I know
No,
you were working.
I'm a long-term married. I have 36
Okay.
years. Going to be 37 this December.
Wow.
We
Cool.
renewed the vows in 2020. Sorry, 2016. 2016,
Okay.
1 year before my situation happened. I renewed my
Okay.
votes, and I'm planning to do the third time very soon.
Ah, three times. You know what they say? Three times. The third
Yeah.
time's the charm. That's
Yeah.
cool.
That's it.
And how
That's
many
it.
kids do you have? I know you said one of them.
I
I
have
know,
three
but how?
kids. I have three
Three kids.
kids, and the three of them are grown up. I have three
Okay.
grandsons.
And you get grandsons. Okay. Cool. So you've had a good life. Pretty much, other than your 1,775 days in prison. Let's talk a little bit about that. What led up to that? And let's talk a little bit about while you were going through it, some of the things that were happening at that time.
Yeah, during that time, that happened in November 2017. As I told you,
Okay.
I was the CEO of this multinational that the headquarter of that company is in Caracas, Venezuela, because the owner of the company is the PDVSA state-owned company. It's the Venezuelan national company. So I was
Okay.
assigned here to the U.S. I had several years working here, and I grew up in the company and became the CEO. And we received
Hmm.
a last minute phone call to a business trip to Caracas. I was in the getting ready to get retired because by that time I had 35 years working in the company.
Right.
So I was
A
ready to
good
get
amount of time.
retired. I was ready, yeah, a long time. According to our calculation for the retirement, I could apply. So I was trying to move to become a consultant. I was in a
Hmm.
position that I was to
Yeah.
become a consultant. So I went to attend that meeting. My original plan was going to that meeting and come back the other day. That never happened.
Right.
That
Oh,
never happened
wow.
because when we were there, by that time there was having a lot of issues between U.S. and Venezuela with some political things,
Hmm.
and we didn't think that nothing was going to happen to us because we were not politicians.
Right.
We were, regular guys working, but we found later on, and I'm going to talk about this about what is the hostage diplomacy that I learned in the
Oh.
wrong way,
Hmm.
is that we were caught in the wrong place in the wrong moment, and then we were caught. They put a lot of charge to us, and at
Right.
the beginning we thought that was a mistake. At the beginning we
Hmm.
thought that was something wrong. We will clarify that. That never happened. That never happened. We
Right.
stayed 5 years there. 5 years of our life were
Right.
lost there.
So basically, let's talk a little bit about just curiosity to set up the picture here. You said you went to a meeting, and then how did this all come about? I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, was this a political coup that the government, had some false charges against you or the other people? I mean, were you the only one arrested? First of all, were you the
No,
only
no.
one arrested?
We were six Venezuelan American citizens that we were in this company. The other five guys
Hmm.
were my top executives, and all of us were put it in the same situation, and they put it some uh, fake charge because their intention was to get us, so now they had somebody to negotiate with the U.S. because they didn't have absolutely nothing to negotiate with the U.S.
Right.
because the situation was really going bad at that moment. The U.S. putting a lot of sanctions on Venezuela, so the economy was
Hmm.
going really bad, and we never thought that we could be caught in the middle of the situation because
Right.
that is the problem with this hostage diplomacy comes that you get caught in the middle of a situation where you don't have absolutely nothing to do, but you at the end
Hmm.
become a bargain chip and a political pawn of the situation. We learned it in the wrong way when we were there.
Right. Yeah. So it's to say at the wrong place at the wrong time. It's just
Yeah.
it was not a day later might have been different or a day earlier. And also the situation that was going on in Venezuela at the time, and the communists and I'm not sure of the history. I mean, was it a dictator that kind of took over of
Yeah,
Venezuela?
yeah. It has more than 2 decades. The things are going bad there, and unfortunately,
Okay.
the situation has even coming worse every time. Every year is
Yeah.
even worse.
That is a shame to hear that. It really is, because I don't know the history outside of the United States a lot. Unfortunately, I'm not a studier of world history, but I've heard things around it. I've heard people talk about it. Especially when the United States is changing. People that came from Venezuela and stuff like that, and how they said it was a very prosperous place and very rich, and now it's. I heard like long lines and all kinds of stuff like that. Out here in the West, you hear stories like that. So it's a shame. You really want places to succeed and prosper financially, and people to prosper and stuff like that, and not be, over dictated over. So going back to your story about being arrested with these false charges and stuff like that, what was the procedure like? Were you scared? Was it because it wasn't like guys with guns? Was it more like police, or is it more like militiaries? Army people. What was it like that time when they actually arrested
We're military guys because the way that we learn how it works there, they created a counterintelligence police that's very similar to the one that they have the Iranians and the Chinese, the
you?
Russians.
Okay.
So it's a
Hmm.
copy paste model, okay? So these guys are
Hmm.
like Robocops, they are called the Dehesins. So to tell you the truth, I was not aware, because I had long time living here in the U.S., so I was not involved in that type of things there. So when we saw
Right.
these guys that came to us asking for us, we got like in shock. We thought, what's
Hmm.
going on here? So when this guy said that we were going to be charged of a lot of things, they put us espionage, embezzlements, and treason and corruption, a lot of things.
Right.
So we thought, no, there is something wrong here. There is a mistake. So we really realized that the situation was going bad like 1 week after, because the first week was totally, we were in shock. We were totally in shock.
Hmm.
By the way, we
Right.
stayed 10 months without communication. So,
Oh, wow.
so
10 months.
during,
So your
during,
wife didn't, because you were married at the time. So you probably had kids. Did you have kids at the time too?
yeah, yeah, of course,
So
of
your
course.
wife and kids did have no knowledge or where you were at that time.
They,
Yeah.
they, they,
For 10
they,
months.
in the news, opinion was saying that we were kept to that location of that police, and they went to
Hmm.
that police and they said that we were not there. But somebody told them that we were there. So like 1 week after, we begin to receive some supplies, but we never saw them. I talked with my
Right.
wife 10 months after, 1 minute call. They gave me a one
Mhm.
minute call 10 months
1 minute. Wow.
1 minute,
Wow.
and we lost sense of the time because they took everything on us. So and we had the lights turned on all day long, and we didn't have
Hmm.
no windows, no door. There
No
was
windows. I was going to ask you about that.
nothing,
Yeah. You have no
no
windows, no
window,
doors, nothing.
no doors, no fresh air. So we were
Oh,
like,
wow.
at some point you lose sense of time. You didn't
Hmm.
know if it's
Yeah.
day, if it's night. So we were totally lost at that point. Because
And
that,
then it
that
sounds like to me, 1 week went into the next week, into the next week. You can't mark the days, because if you can't see the sunrise, the sunset, you can't say, okay, this is day one, this is day two. It's just, and what was this in that time period? What was the sleeping like? Were you all in the one room, or?
that was terrible. What was terrible, terrible,
Oh, I
terrible.
can imagine.
No, they separated the six. We were not put together at the beginning. We were separated. I stayed
Okay.
with one of the guys, and the other four went to other guys. By the way, I saw the other guys like 1 year after. 1 year after
Oh,
is that
wow.
I knew where they were. They were disappeared. No, we were
Right.
really in very bad condition. We were sleeping in the floor.
Uh,
There was leakage. It was a terrible situation. I can tell you
I
what
can
it was.
imagine.
It was a terrible
You know, I
situation.
mean, did they? Were you starved? Right? Obviously, communication, you were in light and stuff like that. You can see that, but did they feed you?
We were starving by the point because the food was really bad. Was very poor and very bad. And some point it was
Uh,
so bad that I couldn't eat it. I couldn't eat it.
So
I
I'm
stayed.
assuming you lost a lot of weight. Then I'm assuming.
I lost 100 pounds. And
Wow. And were you a big guy before that?
I was a big guy. I was a big guy. I
Okay.
was a big guy. That the other guy that was me, he was so skinny that I thought he was gonna die. You
We
could
would
see his
die, yeah,
bones
because
in the
oh
chest. You
wow.
could see the bones. So at that point, uh, the situation began to be so bad that our family we realized that our family was doing a lot of things, but we were not aware of that. So they contacted
Right.
the UN, because the
Okay.
other thing is that the US ambassador of Venezuela was expelled after in
You're out of there.
they were expelled. So we were totally behind, no communication, no way to communicate.
Well,
So
there's no representative
there was
in
no
Venezuela.
representative. There was no, and today still there's no ambassador there. So
Oh, wow.
they contacted a UN representative, and they went to visit us. And when they saw our situation, they began to put pressure that we needed food and medicine.
Right.
So they began to allow us medicine and food. So
Mhm.
that was a little bit changing, because my family managed how to put some logistics and begin
Mhm.
to supply some foods for us. That
Right.
situation put us in a way that we begin to receive every 2 days some prepared foods. When I begin to receive the prepared food, at some point I managed to put some letters inside to communicate with my wife, and the letter went through. The letter
Oh,
went through.
go. Right.
Oh, well, okay. Let me tell you, we kept doing that almost 3 years. Almost three
Right.
years.
Because you were there for 1,700 days, over
Yeah,
1,700 days,
yeah.
which I just used a calculator. It's for almost 5 years.
Yeah, we stayed like 3 years doing that. By every 2 days, I wrote a letter
Mm.
and she answered me, and that's the way we begin to communicate. We developed some kind of a way to some codes in order
Okay.
they got the letters. They didn't know what we were talking about. It were really fine. Let me tell you, when I came back, I told my wife, kind of joking, that I was gonna miss the letters, but the good thing of the letters. The good thing of the letter is that letter became my diary, and that my diary is what I
Okay.
converted in the book that they already booked.
Okay.
Because the
Cool.
book is based on those letters that I wrote
Hmm.
in those 3 years.
Okay. Wow. That is awesome. I mean, now you sound like you said you sent letters out. And did she get letters? Just want to
Yes,
clarify that. How did that come impossible? I mean, did you have some connection
because
with somebody?
yeah, I had somebody. I'm gonna talk about this extensively in the book, how we did it, but
Okay.
wanted to give some hint to the audience. We had these food containers. There was black in the bottom, so
Okay.
like we managed to put two bottoms together, and we put the letter inside, and they never found it.
Oh,
They never found it.
very not
The food
smart
was
people.
coming every time I received the food. The first thing I did is open the
Check the box.
and see if the letter. Sometimes when I didn't see the letter, I got scared because I said, "Oh, they don't
Right.
found the letter." So I had to wait maybe 2 more days. That she sent me a letter saying, "Hey, I couldn't send you a letter 2 days ago." So, but we kept doing it. We
Mhm.
kept doing it,
Okay.
and I can tell you, Kevin, that became a marvelous way to communicate with my family.
Oh yeah.
We
Well, it also
found a
kept giving
marvelous
you
way.
hope.
Oh yeah, yeah,
On both sides. Now,
yeah.
the interesting thing, you must have somebody on the outside that was sympathetic to your cause, because they have to get that jar, take it out, and take the note out and give it to somebody. I mean, that was not against you; that was for you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I'm assuming.
because that's the only way to we do it. At some point, because our situation begin to evolve, it has ups and downs because the
Hmm.
relation with the U.S. became to be hard at some point. But at some point,
Right.
there begin to be some kind of negotiation. So we were depending on how the situation was going on. Sometimes we were a little
Hmm.
bit better. Sometimes we were always in the middle of
Right.
the situation because we became the political pawns of the situation. We were the
You're
top
the pawns.
part of we were the pawns. We were the pawns,
Oh
and
yeah.
then if they wanted to hurt something, they hurted us. They punished us. So
Hmm.
they always felt going that direction. At some point, we begin to have opportunity to have books. They allow us to have some books like 1 year after. You know? So
Okay, books to read.
yeah, we begin to read books, and my family begin to
Mhm.
send me some books. And some way I managed to have a book there. I always talk about this book because for me it
Hmm.
was kind of a miracle. There is a guy. There was a survivor of the concentration camp in World War II. His name is Victor Frank.
Hmm.
The book is A Man in
Okay.
Search of Meaning. I recommend
Hmm.
everybody to read that book. So when I
Okay.
wrote that book, it was like God talking to me, because he
Hmm.
was saying that the people in the concentration camp survive because they believe in God and they have a purpose in their life to
Uh,
survive. So I found that my
right.
purpose was coming back from my family, and
Right.
I realized that God was with us there. So
Hmm.
I can tell you, Kevin, that was a life changing for me. That
Hmm.
that 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 our situation of hope was totally different by that time. So we were
That's different.
getting a lot of strength in the time being.
Right. Now, one of the things I'm thinking about, and this again is forgive me for my ignorance on this stuff. There's a difference between being kidnapped and being a prisoner, correct? I would say
Correct.
where kidnapped more likely is your threat of your life. Now, did they ever? You weren't kidnapped in a sense, in that direct word, but you really were because you're a prisoner of false information and false allegations and stuff. So you were kind of kidnapped, and you were used as a political pawn. But was your life ever in danger as far as you were concerned? Was your life, other than starving to death, was your
In
life
the
in
beginning,
danger?
yes. In the beginning, yes, because those places you see a lot of bad things. And of course,
Hmm.
at some point, when they realized that we really were useful, they began to treat us in a better way. So they
Right.
put us the six together. So,
Hmm. Well,
uh,
you were more like hostages than prisoners.
well, we became hostages because
Yeah.
the way the way the U.S. government classified this is they have two categories: hostage and wrongfully detained. Typically, hostage is when it's like a irregular group. The problem with the
Hmm.
hostage diplomacy is that they converted this that was done in the past by irregular groups like an official policy. So now it's done by
Okay.
governments are doing in an
Uh,
official way. That's why this is became so complex because it's not the Colombian guerrilla, it's not ISIS, it's not
right.
the Taliban. It's a government doing that with all the
Hmm.
the bureaucracy behind the government, all the apparatus of the government. So that's
Right.
why it became so complex because now you have a government using you as a political pawn to obtain some favor or some
Hmm.
concession or something
Right.
that they strategic believe to get from you. So you become, of course, you that raises your value, and
Right.
that
Which protects your life. I mean, if you
will
have
protect your
value,
life, but at the same point, you put you in a severe risk because if something goes wrong with the government, it can go wrong
right,
for you
can go
also.
wrong with you.
So,
Yeah,
so,
that's
so
true.
I can tell you, unfortunately, there are some cases of hostage that now I'm now advocating for the hostage community. Okay, and I have
Okay.
learned that there have been some cases, like my case, that in the past things are going wrong with the government. The people had died.
Mm,
You get caught in the middle of the situation between two governments. So the things
right.
in our case it went good, and we're
Right.
here back. But
Thank
not
God.
always that's the case. Okay,
Not. Not.
we were not aware about that, Kevin. For me, this is totally new. I thought that
Hmm.
our situation was unique, but when we learned that this is something that's being doing like a practice, it's a
Hmm.
policy that is being applied. That's why now I'm advocating so hard on this, and now I'm
Right.
writing about this and talking about this because this is something that
Good.
people are not aware that is happening. But this is
Oh
something
yeah.
that can happen to anybody. I was a regular guy. I was not a politician. I was a regular guy, a businessman.
Right.
Because
Your
the,
business.
the, the problem with this is that it can happen to a businessman in a business trip, can happen to a
Hmm.
guy that's going to an international conference, can happen to a guy that is in a family vacation. It can happen to
Right.
anybody because
Yeah.
if you have the wrong passport in the wrong place, you can get in this situation.
Again, in a situation. So now, the whole basic say 5 years. Were you with the same person the whole time, or did they move you around, or
No,
you
no,
know?
we will move around. We have a lot of stories that I'm going to talk extensively in my book because
Okay.
going it is we
Yeah.
went all around, but at the end, the last half of the stay, more than 2 years and a half, maybe 3 years, we
Hmm.
stayed the six together because when they saw the value that we had, that they
Right.
decided to put us together. Kevin, we were put. I want the audience to imagine this. They put us in a literally in a closet because we were in a space of 100 square foot without no window. So we were like
100 square
living in
feet. That
a
ain't big. That's a
we
10
were
by 10 room.
in what was a basement without we didn't have no air conditioner. At some point, like
Holy
two
cow.
years after, we managed to put a small air conditioner in that location that our family had to pay, by the way. But at the
Oh,
beginning, we were sweating all the day because there was no air conditioning there, and they
bad
took us
food, hot conditions. Hey, it's
everything,
amazing that
everything.
you.
But let me
It's
tell you,
amazing.
Kevin, we the six guys, we were guys with have a strong belief. At the time we were reading the
Hmm.
Bible, we were praying. We managed to handle the situation in a way that we really were in a survival mode for our families. So
Right.
and we were talking about that this is something that we structure a way how we could
Hmm.
manage that. That's part of the program that now I'm trying to put in place, and I'm going to talk of this extensively in the book because when I
Okay.
came back and I began to think about how we did it, I can tell you, we did a lot of things based on the common sense, but it worked. We're back.
Hmm.
So,
Right.
so
You're alive.
yeah,
You're
we are
alive.
alive.
Everybody made it, right? All the people, nobody
Yeah,
died, nobody got killed or just died, I mean, so everybody made it back to their families. And you said a lot about, your faith in God helped you get through this, and also your faith in your family and your belief in that you wanted to get back to them. That kept you going. Is there anything else that really in your head in that time of almost 5 years of being in prison, not in very good conditions? What motivated you? Because again, day after day, kind of because you had no lights and stuff like that, and maybe the only time that you might have seen the daylight is if you moved from one building to another building. If they did that, that's the only time. What kept you going in this situation?
the faith in God and the faith in our family. We at
Okay.
that time, as I told you, we were having better communication. Some was the letter. Sometimes we were having some calls, like like
Hmm.
every 2 or 3 days we managed to have like a 5 minute call. So that
Okay.
call plus the letter, we were more aware about the situation, and and knew that our family was fighting very hard for us.
Okay.
They after 1 year they decided to go loud to the press because this is other situation. When you go to this
Hmm.
situation, because you go to the government, and the first thing they
Right.
say they keep calm, stay quiet. We're gonna try to handle this quietly behind the scene. That's not the case. So our family decided to go to the press. So
Right.
that was in 2017, and in 20 at the end of 2018, beginning 2019, our family began to go very strongly to the press, and that's where they put us the name, the so-called Citgo Six. They call us the Citgo Six. Maybe
Okay.
it was more easy that instead of talking about the six guys, the names, they put us like a brand. We became kind of a brand. The
Oh
Citgo
wow.
Six became a brand. So now everybody knows that. Every time you see by that time any official of the government, any congressman, anybody
Hmm.
talking about us, always was talking about the Citgo Six. That's the name.
Oh
That
wow.
was the brand they put us.
So okay, so that got you through it and all that stuff like that. Now, as I said, you were in there 1,775 days. Let's talk about the 1,770 days. 5 days before you left. What, if you can remember exactly, what was going on in your mind? Did you know that you were going to be released, or you still at that time didn't know what was happening 770 days into the situation.
Okay, after 4 years,
Mm.
in 2019, the Congress passed a law that is called the Robertson-Levinson Act. Okay,
Okay.
that is to protect the hostage and the wrongfully detained. So we were covered by that law. So that means that the U.S. government had to give some protection to try to put us in the situation to come back.
Hmm.
So they created an office called the Special Presidential Office for Hostages Affairs.
Okay.
It's IHA. There is a very wonderful guy called the ambassador, the ambassador Roger Carton, who is
Okay.
the leader of the SPIHA office. He began to visit us in December 2021, 1 year before we were released. He traveled
Okay.
quietly to Venezuela, and we had a visit of him, like a 1 or 2 hour visit with him. The first time we saw that guy, we realized that we were more closely to come back. So
Hmm.
he went back the second time in March 2022, and that day he could release one of us. He brought one
Okay.
of the guys back. So it was like my son always said that guy was my son called the pizza. You know why? Because when you did this movie, when they have people kidnapped, that kidnapper
Right.
said, hey, I'm starving, and then say, give me a pizza. I said, okay, give me one prisoner. So that was the pizza guy, so he
Okay.
was like a proof that we were talking, so they released one guy.
A show of good faith, I think, from
With a
from
show
their
good faith.
perspective.
So
Yeah,
they
they
in
said, okay,
March,
we'll release one.
one was released in March. They Ambassador Roger Carton came back in May of that year with the ambassador of Venezuela that it was at that time in Colombia. So they
Okay.
too came back to Venezuela and they visit us. The second
Okay.
time, the third, that was the third time they came. That day they
Okay.
didn't bring nobody because the negotiation and what we heard, they were not going good, and then we really were worried. We thought we were left behind.
Hmm.
So we
Right.
began to get worried. But to tell you the truth, in my inner sense, I was with a lot of hope that I was gonna come back. I
Mm.
was even coaching my family, telling them, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna go back.
Right.
And it happened 3 months after. In
Oh wow.
October 1st, that day, they woke up like at 5 a.m. in the morning and said, "Hey, get properly dressed up." Properly dressed up. I always laugh about this because they put us this. It was a yellow outfit that we call the minion outfit. we
Oh
were
yes.
we were like the minions, no, all in yellow.
Right.
So they put us
Hmm.
our minion outfit, and then we went out. And when we were out to the office of the director, he said, "You're free." What? Yeah, we're free. We didn't believe
Wow.
it. So they put us in armored truck, and when we saw that we were heading to the Maiquetía airport, I said, "Okay,
Airport. Yeah.
we're going to the airport."
You
So
go. Finally.
they put it in a plane, and we landed in a Caribbean island called Zambizo,
Mm.
in the middle of
Wow.
the nowhere. So it was like a movie. And there we were swapped there was a prisoner swap in that island, and we're back. So we landed
But
here in.
yeah, the interesting question is, what was the original purpose for them to really? I mean, I know you were leverage, but leverage for what? What? Why did the Venezuelan government or the coup, the people that took over, what did they really want out of this situation that held you guys captive for 5 years? What did they get? Did they gain anything out of it, or
Yes,
anything
of course, because they were having. They put a lot of sanctions. They banned the oil production.
like?
They banned debt. They did a lot of ban on the Venezuelan economy, so the Venezuelan economy was really struggling, and
Right.
they was asking to get us released, to get some relief in that sanction. There is also a famous drug keeping that apparently is part of one of the
Cartel.
guys
Okay.
that is partner of the guy there. They were asking to get a swap by that guy. At the end, they swapped us with the two cousins of the wife of the
Oh,
president of Venezuela. So they were
jeez.
asking for several things. They were asking for a lot of things for us. But at the end,
Right.
they swapped it with two prisoners. But they were asking for a lot of things.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, their intent was, they're using you as leverage to
Yeah.
get what they want. Whether it's prisoner release from, one prisoner for another prisoner, or sanctions being released. I mean,
Correct.
so you were in that situation. So now you're released. You're on an island. Basically, what's happened from that time to right now? What's going on?
Okay, well, after we came back, when we were heading in the plane, we were told that the president had called our families. He called our families and told us that we were
Hmm.
released. That we were going to be 2 weeks in a military base to get some kind of the cooperation. We stayed in San Antonio in a military base
Okay.
during 2 weeks.
Okay.
And when I came back here to my house in Houston, you know, that year that Roger Carton was going, I began to investigate a little because at that time the situation was better for us because the conversations were open, and this guy began
Hmm.
to relax the thing with us because they wanted to give the impression that everything was okay with us. Okay, so they
Right.
began to give us more calls, more books. They allow us to have a TV. For
Okay.
years, we could have a TV. So we had CNN and BBC. So we saw
Oh.
when Trevor Reed was released in TV. We saw when a lady of UK was released in TV. So when we realized that this thing was happening to others, the
Right.
situation was not unique. We began to investigate, and we saw that this was a pattern. What is that so-called hostage diplomacy? When I came back here, our family now is part of a family campaigns. All the hostage community, there's a family campaign called the Bring Our Family Home campaign that
Okay.
our family is part of that campaign, and now I'm also a member of the campaign. So I begin to do advocacy for that. I went to Washington. There is a mural in Washington with our
Hmm.
faces. There's going to be one that's going to be unveiled this July 4th here in Houston. We're working right now with a
Okay.
campaign. They will unveil one here in Houston. There is one that was unveiled in Arizona because Brittany Griner is part of our campaign, and she's one of the champions on the campaign right now. So this campaign
Okay.
has become bigger because the families found that working together was the right way to do. Because
Do it.
before everybody was in their situation. There
Hmm.
are hostages in Iran, in Russia, in Afghanistan,
Right.
in China, in Myanmar,
And
North
Turkey, there was
Korea,
one pastor that
Turkey,
was a
Turkey,
yeah.
Turkey, Cuba, Venezuela. There's a lot of countries. There are people kept.
Right.
There's a foundation called the Foley Legacy Foundation. That is
Hmm.
because one of the wonderful lady Diane Foley, his son unfortunately died. James Foley, his name. He was kept by ISIS and he died by
Hmm.
ISIS. So now the name is of James Foley is the foundation. They do an annual report where they have put at least 60 Americans are kept in all these countries, like 60.
Right.
So this is something that people are not aware. And now we're working
No.
hard to bring
Mhm.
awareness of this because this is something that has to stop. This is part
Now,
of
now you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you. One thing I was thinking of, you have your LPSG, Life's Pills for Survival Guide. Is that the program you're talking about that you're involved with?
Yes, no. Well, there are two things they are doing. One is the advocacy for the hostage community, but when
Okay.
I found that the message that I was trying to spread to the community, to the
Hmm.
families that they have families. Today I almost know all the families. We have met with
Okay.
all of them, with their husband, their wife, their kids.
Hmm.
This is a big community, and because I'm a former hostage, so I
Right.
was giving them a lot of hope, a message of hope.
Hmm.
Okay, I always say that you never give up. I have it here. I never give up. I have it here. Never
Okay.
give up. I have it
never give up.
from day one. Never give up. So
Cool.
never give up and never lose the hope. So that was a powerful message to begin to work
Right.
for them. So I was a guy that always was a very plan mindset. So I began to
Mm-hmm.
investigate on this because let me tell you, I'm not a Superman. I went through a lot. I went through a
Right.
lot. I had to go to the therapist, psychologist, trauma specialist, a lot of things after I came back. But
Right.
going through my healing process, I discovered that there are several ways that the way we manage that we could help others to survive any ordeal in their life. And we
Okay.
decided to put a program called Life Pill for a Survival Guide that we're now promoting. We're working hard to launch it very soon. I
Mm-hmm.
have now my LinkedIn account where every week I'm talking about these two topics, the hostage diplomacy and the LPSD. I'm talking about these. These
Okay.
are my two topic points right now, and
Mm-hmm.
because I truly believe that we can help others, because sometimes you feel lost, and we felt
Mm-hmm.
lost. We're
Oh
not
yeah.
Superman. We went through the process. We're a normal human being.
No,
They went through this
you weren't
situation.
trained for that. It's not like
The
you went to
life trained
school
us.
and
I think was God. I
life.
think was God.
You think so? Yeah, I think so too. And you have a platform now, and one of your platforms, and you mentioned it a few times, that you're writing your memoirs, or they're actually completed. You're just gonna. When they're supposed to really be released? The memoirs, the book. When's that
Well,
gonna be released?
now I'm working with the editor. We're in the editing this week. I had to work hard because she put me some homework to do some editing, because the way I wrote the book was based on my diary. My diary was
Okay, right.
wrote between 2020, 2019, 2020, 2021. So I had to update
Mm-hmm.
some information for this timing. So I'm updating the information to
You're
get
updating.
for the edition.
Okay.
I hope they are going to be ready. I hope in the following 2 or 3 months that book is going to be outside.
I mean,
So
now
before you
where do you plan? Where do you plan on publishing that? Amazon or your local, your own
no, well, we're
website,
working
or
in both. We're working in both directions. The hybrid publishing with the major publishing. We're in the process.
okay?
We
You're in
haven't
the
decided
process
yet.
of both of them.
We're in the process
Okay.
in this moment.
Okay. Cool. I mean, you definitely had and a very interesting, needless to say, life in the last few years, and something that you never expected to have, and you went through it, and with God's help and stuff like that. Um, Two things. We'll start with this one. Is tell people how they right now they can get a hold of you. A lot of the information will be in show notes and stuff like that, links and stuff. But just mention to them where they can find you and stuff like that. And then the second thing is talk to somebody that might be going through a situation somewhat similar to yours. So do those
Okay.
two things, and then we'll close from that point. So
Okay. Now I have a Twitter account, I have an Instagram account, I have a Facebook account, I have a LinkedIn account. I have my link tree that you can maybe put there. All the
mm,
accounts will appear there. I'm writing
right.
a newsletter every week. Today, I launch it every Tuesday. Today, I'm talking about
Okay.
hostage diplomacy. If you go to my LinkedIn account today, you will see
Mm,
my today's newsletter. So
okay.
I'm talking about these two topics: life pills or a survival guide and hostage diplomacy. These are my two
Hmm.
talking points. For somebody that is going through a situation, I can tell anybody after I went through this situation, and again, I'm a humble guy that only
Hmm.
went through the experience, but I can tell you through my experience that you can survive any situation in life. In a life,
Okay.
you have always two choices. You can go
Hmm.
in the wrong way, feeling like a victim and victimize yourself and think that you lost and you will never survive, or you decide to go in the other way and try
Right.
to overcome, succeed, and be successful. I decided to go in that path, and that's what I want to spread the message to the people. Of course, with the help of God, or you have a power, but always you can do it in any
Hmm.
situation. This is the thing that I'm trying to teach people, because we went through
Okay.
it and good proof of it.
Hmm. Well, that's good. One thing before you get into the last and talking to somebody out there, maybe what's going through, and give them a little bit of hope to end the show with that. I work with a TV station. I'm going to pass this on to the president. look at it and see, because he does kind of shows like political type of things. But what would you say to somebody that is going through the situation? Because somebody is being detained somewhere in the country and they have family members. What would you say to them?
Okay, today the situation, even is bad when somebody is detained, has evolved in a positive way in several ways. First, we have the Bring Our Family Home campaign that now does advocacy for the hosted family. So anybody is going through the situation, the first thing you have to do is contact the Bring Our Family Home campaign. The first thing.
Okay,
Second, there are several foundations like the Richardson Center, the Foley Foundation, Hosted USA, Hosted Aid Worldwide. There are like 4 or 5 big foundations that give a lot of support to the family. The government, we're now working hard, and this foundation also are working hard. And there's now a bipartisan commission that was created. It's called CSIS. They're trying to put in that this law more to be done, give more support, because one of the things that the family always go is through a lot of psychological, physical, logistical, and financial distress.
Financial,
it's unimaginable the psychological, psychological, the physical, the financial distress. This is like a bomb in the middle of the family, because when the situation comes, the people are lost. They don't know how to navigate the bureaucracy and the press. The press is so important in this, because the press now is more aware, because having these cases that have been hit the press, that now there are some journalists that are really aware about the situation. By the way, there is a journalist that was kidnapped in Iran. He's a journalist of Washington Post. He always is talking about this. So there are some press that is specialized in this. And the situation today is better than 5 years ago, but more has to be done. Because the hosted diplomacy is something real. It's something that is happening. And you will never know when it can happen to you. Now the government had put some travel bans for some countries that are doing this practice. So this situation has given more pressure. As I told you, the Bring Our Family campaign is going to unveil a mural here in Houston. That was Alzheimer's on July 4th. We invited, the foundation invited the press. There's going to be press there. Because this is part of the raising the awareness about this situation. And of course, helping the people that are still left behind.
Okay, that's cool. Well, Jose, thank you very much for this interview. It's been very enlightening from my end of understanding a little bit what was going on there and in your story. And I look forward to eventually picking up your book and reading it. And they say, oh, yeah, I remember that. So that was pretty cool. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much for being on. Everybody else, thank you for joining the Millennium Beat. Stay tuned next week for some more great interviews and stories, because remember, we like to encourage the world one story at a time. Thanks again, Jose. Appreciate it.
This has been a Millennium Beat LLC production. Views and opinions of the guest are not always the views and opinions of the Millennium Beat LLC. Check us out on social media, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and TikTok at the Millennium Beat, or on Twitter at Millennium_Beat. If you would like to partner with us to reach the world, go to our website for more information. You can go to themillenniumbeat.com or tmb2000.net. Your financial support is greatly appreciated. We couldn't do all we do without your support. The Millennium Beat just updated our website from the ground up. Check it out at themillenniumbeat.com, or you can get there by using millenniumbeat.com or tmb2000.net, where you'll be redirected to the millenniumbeat.com's homepage. I want to thank Mass Inbound for their awesome work on our website. If you're looking for somebody to build your site, I recommend them. You can reach them at massinbound.com. That is massinbound.com. These are some of the things that you can find on our website. Homepage. You can watch our latest YouTube video or listen to our audio podcast. Also listed are some of the platforms our audio podcast is on. You'll find out when the next podcast will air and who the guest will be. On the top right, you will find 2 red buttons, Learn How to Help and Become a Guest. Under Learn How to Help, you can become a partner, sponsor, contributor, or contribute to the future Millennium Bus. You can give one-time or monthly recurring. The choice is yours. The other button is Be a Guest. Click it, go to the form, and fill it out, and we will get back to you. We would love to hear your story. Click the About Us drop-down where you'll find stats, where we are reaching people, and to find more information on our sponsors. Click on the podcast drop-down, then click on the calendar tab where it will tell you when the shows will air and who will be on them. Or if you need to know about any meetups of the Millennium Beat staff, partners, or listeners. Also, there might be on the calendar an event at which the Millennium Beat staff will be at. Click the Guest tab for all previous guests, links to their website, social media pages, and any store they might have. Click the Forms drop-down. There you'll find a release, Be a Guest, or Become a Sponsor form.